So I've hit record, and at the bottom of the screen, I've got a pause, stop, and then is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet, away we go.
What? That's how you want to start this podcast? You don't want to
Yeah.
start it, and then should we try again?
No, just leave it. It's organic, and it might sound weird to a listener, but just trying to figure out the recording. Going on about this Zoom, we've noticed an error in the why when split screen is the massive black strips across the screen. It don't make any sense when they've set this app up. Why wouldn't they just have a full split screen when there's only two people in a meeting? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you sound like an old person. You sound like an old person complaining about technology.
like when an old woman doesn't know how to use the answering machine. Have you ever remember an old person would speak to the answering machine, but the answering machine's a message, but they're trying to speak back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, dear. I thought you were here. Why? What? I heard your voice a minute ago. You're at the garden. What are you doing?
So we've got these microphones, and we have no knowledge of whether they're recording or not.
Nope.
Do you know if yours is definitely working?
No, it's working. It's got a red thing here, you know. So mine's working. Cool. How is yours will have this red thing here? Because I'm assuming you've got yours plugged in, yeah.
We'll get to that. No, we were saying, so you've plugged yours in and you've started the meeting, but
as have you.
Yeah. No, but we're not certain that it's working in the Zoom meeting, are we?
The microphone.
The microphone, yeah.
Yeah, mine's working. I've got a red light, which as do you. I mean, I'm assuming you've got a red light. You wouldn't. Your microphone's there.
So you've outed me here. Well, I bought this microphone, the Blue Yeti. It's come and I've lost the wire for it, but I wanted to look professional, so I've set it up in front of my screen like it's working, but it's not. So it's there for show. You know, like them people that have really big muscles, but they can't lift much weight, and it's just for show. They just look good.
Yeah.
They just look the part.
Was there any part of you that was consumed with envy, knowing that I could have my microphone here all big and bulbous and angry, just taking the screen?
It's not unlike a massive erect penis.
So
it's engulfing a lot of my screen. I'm not happy about this.
So would you?
You know what I was thinking? They're quite heavy, these, aren't they? And when I was ordering it, I seen on the screen that you can get like an arm to hold it. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen them where it's like an arm with multiple joints on it, and you like it so the microphone can hover?
Yeah. Imagine you've got to drill into the ground and get the arm into the ground, because it is.
You know, like it's on a big hydraulic truck.
Yeah.
That's the back of the side of my lap.
Yeah, so in order to have that arm, you need to employ like 3 health and safety guys in like high visibility vests every time you do a pod.
You need your HGV license because you need someone to back the vehicle up into position, and then you need someone to operate the hydraulic arm.
Would you swap your penis as it is now for this microphone, for this shape of the microphone?
Of course I would. You would as well.
Yeah, I would, but you'd have problems, wouldn't you? I mean, like, imagine the issues you'd have, like, with BJs and like.
It wouldn't end well, would it, for the participant?
No, imagine like that's how This is probably like Shaquille O'Neal. You know, the
Yeah.
back, like a 7 foot gorilla.
Dude, I was watching Joe Rogan today. I put his stand up on today for a bit, and he was saying that he'd be a bad person to protect the White House, and he's reasoning behind it. He said, "I've met Shaquille O'Neal, and my head is at his dick level." He's basically saying that he wouldn't be sufficiently strong, because he was telling a story about someone that successfully broke into the White House on a night where there was just a woman on duty, and he was saying that you can't leave a woman on to guard like that building. Do you know what I mean? And then he went in to talk about Shaquille O'Neal's penis being at his head height.
And imagine as well, like you could like probably legitimately concuss someone, like if he got a hard on and was just a whack into the side of your face, you could probably like.
It's an extension of himself, isn't it? An extension of his body.
It'd be weird if it's like he had my extension of his body.
The fruit bag's impressive tonight, dude.
Thank you. There's some pears in there. There's a
What's
couple.
this thing at the front? Is it a red apple?
Red apple. This orange looks bad, actually.
How is it?
It's gone black. It's gone black.
No, that's the wrong thing. I'm still seeing it.
It
doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is an apple.
Did you already have some Budweisers in, or did you go and get one?
No, I had them from. We tried to do this about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think I grabbed them then.
Well, you put them to the back of the cupboard and said, "We'll get there in the end."
Yeah, I put them in, like wiped my tears away, and was like, "You'll come back out soon. You'll come back out soon." when Paul's ready to break bread. How's your day been, bro?
It's not been too bad, to be honest. I've just had some stuff on at the shop. I'm prepping to open again next week, hopefully with the lockdown. I'm gonna start booking people back in. I've had some messages, and yeah, hopefully get my diary back to normal. But I've got to find a new barber for the barber side of the shop, which is annoying really, because I've got to go through the process again of sending out messages and stuff, waiting for someone decent to come. I had a really good barber in the shop, but he's managed to get a salary job and he's left. But with setting the shop up in lockdown, there was no way of keeping somebody, because I weren't physically paying him. He was earning money on the strength for what customers had come through the door. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was that noise? That was intense.
Oh, dude, my hiccups, mate. I swear to God, I feel like my hiccups are like an unconscious way of observing my dominance. Like,
yeah, that was the hiccup of a man that I'd follow into battle. Do you know if I knew nothing about you, I'd never met you, and you on presenting yourself to me, and you wanted me to follow you to my death, and you presented yourself with that hiccup, I'd follow.
Oh lordy, I went into. I always do it in like really quiet places as well, and like not purposefully. I can't, but like I went into ADR Network, into like this driving agency, and there was this long corridor, like really long corridor, and then the office was right at the end. And as soon as I got to the top of the stairs and I walked through the door, the first thing that I did was like, it was just this gigantic like hiccup. I've
just opened the next beer and it spilled over a bit. Yeah, I find hiccups come at really inappropriate times. Like, have you ever had a situation where you need to engage with someone you don't really know? Like, say you've got a job interview or something, you like eat your dinner really fast before you get there, and you like, say you're going to a new job or something and you're in the corridor and you're like hiccuping all the way there, you go, and you're thinking, shit, I've got to speak to this guy now. I need these hiccups to fuck off.
Yeah. Just a conversation, yeah, just like, hi, I'm oh, nice to meet you. Hi. And they're like sounding like you're gonna fucking throw up over the desk. Are you okay?
I find them quite frustrating. They don't ask permission, do they? They just come.
Yeah, they're very intrusive.
Yeah, they are intrusive.
Those-
Yeah. So that's what's going on with me. I've got with the shop opening the shop in lockdown, like I'm in new waters at the moment. This is new territory for me because I don't know how
uncharted territory.
That's it. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's what I thought of when you said I'm in. I was like,
uncharted. Like, psst, uncharted territory. like, dude, you see me about to say it and you're trying to text it me dead fast, so I read it. Yeah, I'm in uncharted waters.
Or I'm into magic, and as you drink your desperado, you're like, ah. And you just pull out a bit of paper and it just says uncharted territory on it.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how the shop's going to take off because it's been really quiet on the barbering side of it. I took on a lad and I let him just work to build himself up. And he was really quiet because with barbers that are in regular, it's a trade where you have your set customers and they're your regulars. People come for haircuts at regular intervals and they tend to use the same people, don't they? So if you've got your barber, you have your customers that come weekly, you have your customers that come every couple of weeks, but when you're setting a new shop up, unless you've already got a customer basis, you're looking at passing trades. You're opening your doors and you're waiting for people to discover the shop and walk past and try it out. So it's frustrating at first because you want it to just take off straight away. But for me to open the shop in the previous lockdown, it wasn't the best timing for it. Do you know what I mean?
No, I imagine though, like you're gonna fucking like be rocket propelled soon. Like if you can manage to, do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like immediately you've been tested ultimately with the hardest situation. So then you can get through that. Then you're like, oh, it's kind of, the fear might well be eliminated after that because you've gone through the most difficult time there's going to be. I mean, like it is fucking just a bit crazy at the moment.
Yeah, so it's like an uphill run, isn't it? It's like an uphill race, and it's slowly steadying out. So it's going to get easier, hopefully. But you don't know. I mean, realistically, looking at what things make a successful shop, I don't know. In terms of like, you've got your location. Is it in a good location? It seems to be. But then you're looking at you need a decent barber. You need someone that's good enough to bring the customers back. Do you know what I mean? So you can't sort of just let anyone come and work here because if they're not very skilled, they'll cut hair once, but the people won't come back to them. So it's going to be a case of trial and error. Do you know what I mean? I do need to. I need a stroke of luck, really. I need to find the right person for the job, but the benefit that I have got is my tattoo income can cover the cost of the shop. So at some extra cost to myself, I can survive whilst running the shop. So I can bite the bullet and take no wages away from the barber shop and let that build up. So that's me saving grace, thinking, well, it might take a year or two. Realistically, it's not going to happen overnight. The same with this podcast. You might get people watch the video and listen on occasion, But to get regular listeners to something, they have to like what you do. Do you know what I mean? So it can take time because we'll have a certain audience that will have similar views to us on stuff. Do you know what I mean? Or even if they just like listening to it just for the sheer nonsense of it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
But yeah, it's not something you can have happen overnight. And this is what we both spoke about, haven't we?
Yeah, you should just start implementing like all these, because I think it's a really great idea to have like a hairdresser to have a barbers, and then have like hairdressers sounds more feminine to me.
Yeah, hair.
Dude, I'm proud of you on your new hair parlor. Just like 80s movie with the hair dryers, the big dryers. You walk in, like, yeah, trying to get some guys in there, and trying to get, just doesn't seem to be any guys wanting to come and get their hair cut, and it's like pink and furry.
Dude, I know I've mentioned it in the past. Is there any way to stop that light flickering in the background?
Just fucking turn it off. It's a bit dark.
No, yeah, no, that's too dark. Yeah, no, I did say it's like it's creating a scene of like, it always reminds me of like some horror scene. Like I'm on a Zoom meeting to you, and then all of a sudden your camera goes off, and then your van just gets attacked by some sort of weird fucked up guy. Sneaks in with a dick the size of this, and just invade your pants.
Like these curtains just start to like the windows smash, the curtains start to shake, and just all you see is that kind of Mike Dick come through the curtain.
Yes, you've left your window open a little bit, and that just slivers through into the screen like.
What I was saying was that I think it's a great idea to have a hairdressers, because everyone needs a haircut, and with the tattoo as well, like that's really like using your space well. And then I was going to joke about like, maybe you should just start like everything that you know that people need. So it's like, this part of the barber shop is like the coffee shop. People come in.
Yes, it's also my residence. Like I've got the barber shop, and just got like a bunk bed above where the haircut's been done. No,
the washing machine. Like you have to sit on the washing machine to get your hair cut.
Oh, you're getting tattooed on what's effectively your kitchen worktop as well. So like, just like loads of dishes at the side of where the tattoo station is. No, it's not creatively like my idea. They're quite common nowadays. So what's happened, and what I did starting out as a tattooist is I found a space that was inside a barber shop, and I rented that space and then licensed it as a tattoo shop. So you're branching into like a building having a multi-use. So for me, it'll be two separate businesses once it takes off. For my tattooing, it'll be a separate entity to the barber shop itself, if that makes sense. Dude, you know what I've noticed you do a lot?
What?
You wipe the creases at the side of your mouth when you're on dry mouth. You go.
Nah, it's my mustache. I do that to my mustache.
Oh right, you know what I thought it was like. You know when you used to get it when you was high, like when you had a really dry mouth and you had those little dry bits in the corner of your mouth. You used to wipe them away.
When you say you're referring to yourself as well, yeah?
Yeah, speaking in the is that in the third person?
What if you say you?
How do they say, if you're speaking in the first person, is that me saying I did this? But then speaking in the third person, is that where you speak about yourself, but you refer to yourself by name?
Name, yeah. You'd be like, Paul thinks this is whack.
Paul don't take no shit.
Paul thinks that speaking in the third person is insanity.
Dude, what Will Ferrell film is it where it's the other guys where he goes, Gator don't take no shit.
Gator never been about playing no shit. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Enjoy. So I'm going to figure out where the wire is to Shaq's dick tomorrow and get this motherfucker set up properly. To be honest, I want to know realistically the difference in quality. So maybe, I don't know what this actually does. What does it do? Take away the echoey sound, or what's it actually doing? Just a slightly better audio.
So yeah, you got the 87-400 echo, and what it does is it just makes us look like we know what we're doing. That's it. That's it, dude.
Where did you read 87-400 from?
No, I was just making it up.
Oh right, I like that. Sorry, I've just ruined your blag then.
Yeah, it just means Well, I watched a video on it and it just said that in the video, he was like, oh, it just comes up with it and says connect with computer audio. But if you've got it plugged in, it will connect with this audio.
Yeah.
And
Dude, you know what we didn't speak about the other day, which I did want to touch on, was the social dilemma.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen the program, yeah. What I found was that interesting about is it refers to the person who uses social media as the product, and what it's saying is, if you're not paying Facebook or Instagram or any social media platform, then by you using it, you're the product that Facebook's selling to the payer in the form of advertising. So it was saying, and what they're selling your time. So every time you're looking at it, Facebook's profiting by showing you ads from various people that are paying, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I found it interesting that because what they've done as a company is they've found a way to set up a load of computers, really, haven't they, and turn that into a business that's generating money constantly. And once it's set up, what do they even have to do? Because everything works on algorithms and stuff, doesn't it? It's self-functioning, don't they? They'll have to maintain the website and the data and stuff. But other than that, what are they actually having to do?
I couldn't tell you.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I found watching the program, and this is why these companies have got so rich from it. Do you know what I mean?
You're having trouble there, aren't you? You're having trouble with.
Yeah. I think it's not plugged in, but I feel like I've grown an attachment to it. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting in touch with my lack of manhood.
Just going at walking in the park with it, get a little photograph of it, and just put it down to where your dick is.
Just enjoy.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? The social dilemma. Like, what I found was kind of like haunting about it is the way they would have the what's it called? The hologram. What's it called?
I don't know.
You know where it's like the person and it's in the
profile.
Pardon?
The person's profile.
Yeah, but they actually had like an
avatar.
Yeah, like an avatar of it. Is it hologram? Maybe, I don't know. And I just found that weird, and then it had like all of their like preferences.
Yeah, so that's what it works on, doesn't it? And the algorithm or whatever it works on, the coding that decides what videos and stuff to show you, it generates more intelligence on you by what you're watching. So every time you watch a video or click or like a photo or whatever,
It's your
that thing's developing. Yeah, it's developing a better understanding of your personality, and it knows more about you and what to show you. But what it was saying, which I found mad, is on a dead small scale, it can influence your actions by what they show you. And it was proved, like they did a study where they could show that it was like changing people's decisions on voting and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was influencing like elections and stuff, which I found mad. Dude, I want a piss break.
Already? All right, we'll pause it.
Boom. So we just had a little piss break, and Lee decided to take some drugs.
No, I never.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did.
Smoked some weed, which I don't agree with. It's disgusting.
I got kicked out of the army for. Tried to drop me in the shit and then take the higher moral ground of I don't agree with it personally.
I'd never get involved with anything like that.
Especially after being booted from the army for it. Of just disgusting behaviour from Lee. Absolutely disgusting behaviour.
Yeah, so I noticed a second ago you was touching your face a lot, and I really like. You know what it reminded me of? Like something was crawling on your face. You were proper like slapping it and stuff. What was you doing?
Huh?
What was you doing?
I don't know. I was just like, do you not ever do that where you get fidgety and then like
Normally when somebody fidgets, they fidget with like the hands or feet, not the fucking face.
Nah, dude, I'm like this, mate. One of my favorite things to do is get a cotton wool bed, and then like I know they're bad for your ears and shit, but I'll get it in, and I like just having it in and just like moving it around and like,
you ever find that it's quite sore? You lit a little spot and you go, fucking hell. Do you not think that?
I've got calloused ears, mate. Mine are conditioned for war, mate. I'm like, just get involved and they're ready.
They've been prodded. You've never done any fighting sport in your life, but you've used that many cotton buds, you've developed cauliflower hair. It's like swollen up from the inside.
Sounds like you need to see a doctor. You're like, when you put it in your ear and blood comes out? Blood and pus.
Yeah.
Just
so, talk me through your weekend, dude. What are you doing tomorrow?
Do you know what? I got nothing planned this weekend. What about you? Like I have nothing. I haven't even thought about it. I'm gonna work on Sunday.
Do you know what I find? Like, you don't always need to have a massive plan. And sometimes I find this with like other people, they'll want to know exactly what you're doing, and like, like particularly like if you're in a relationship, sometimes.
I was gonna say I know who you're referring to.
No, it's like if you want set plans, but to me, I find structured plans on my day off. It very much feels like you're still at work. I like the feeling of just deciding in the moment, like, yeah, well, I want to go here and do this, I want to have this to eat. But I find that when I'm working, I'm arranging tattoos, and I'm meeting different people, I'm putting effort into doing different designs. I find that the rigmarole of it can be like quite intense and time consuming. So I like the idea of doing fuck all on your day off, just going out and just doing what you think. I don't like this thing where people think that everything has to have a plan. Do you know what I mean? I do in business. I think setting goals and having a system and having ideas of what you want to do business-wise is important, but in terms of like day-to-day shit, especially in terms of your day off, I like the idea of just going with it, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like when you're not shackled by time, there's a lot of peace and a lot of like you enjoy. Like, do you ever do this, dude? So sometimes, and I might do this tomorrow actually, on a Saturday especially, is I will not have my watch and I won't have my. I'll do what's like no, like you say with the planning, it's no psychological time where I'll wake up when I want to wake up. So I'll wake up when it's like get sunny or what have you, and then I'll eat if I feel hungry, and I'll just that's how my day will be. And usually what I tend to do is I will go on like a walk and just get out in nature, and I don't pay too much attention to what time it is. So I'll go to bed when I feel sleepy. I'll eat when I feel hungry, and it's good, man. It's a good little break.
I just imagine your entire day off. You're parked up in the wild somewhere. The scenery is really like you set the scene. Everything's beautiful. You can hear the birds chirping. You've just got a cotton bud in one hand and your dick in the other, and you just spend the entire day reflecting and cleaning that shit out. It's not. I think you live by the philosophy. It's not going to clean itself, and this dick's not going to suck itself.
Shut your mouth before I fuck it.
What's that off, dude?
Is it
Shut your mouth before I fuck it.
It's Zach and Mir make a porno, isn't it? Like, that guy's like he's the porno. He's like yeah, starting such, and he's like talking. He's out starting. I think he's in gay porn, and he says like like he starts saying what the names of them are, and he's like, I starred in Shut Your Mouth Before I Fuck It, and like the different like shows that he'd starred in.
You know what I love in that bit, where I don't know what his character's called, but it's Zach something in it. But Seth Rogen when he unhooks a bra and goes, "Let me see them titties." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When he's got the milk and he's like, "I've got the milk. I've got the milk." Wow, you must
want any cream.
So, yeah, you like so. Do you ever do that where you don't have any, where you're not time bound, and then you do find that, because this one thing I've noticed as well, like a time, if you want to get stressed the fuck out, go against time, like have a schedule and then almost be late for it. That's a sure quick fire way to get real stressed out, like when you're running against time.
I've been picked up on this quite a lot. But what I do is I cram too much shit in, and it's a lot of the time it's unrealistic. So I'll have work on, and then I'll have tennis straight after work. But I'll have to nip to my mum's and get my washing, and then straight to tennis. But then I'll have to communicate with another customer, and it just like when you plan it in your head, you don't implement exactly how long each aspect of the task's going to take, and then I'm really bad for cramming too many things into my schedule. So I like think, yeah, it'll take 10 minutes to nip to my mum's, then I've got to go here, and realistically everything spills over. Do you know what I mean?
They say that's a sign of creativity.
Yeah, so that's something that's something I'm really bad with. But at the same time, it's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing because it means I get a lot more done. I set unrealistic goals and don't quite reach the whole thing, but it means I get more done than what would happen if I set an achievable goal, if that makes sense.
Are you happy doing that?
It's more of a learned behavior, so it's not necessarily fair to say that I'm happy doing it. It's just how I do it. And it's not, I don't even put it down to it being a good thing. It's not, I wouldn't say it's massively beneficial. It's just how I work. Do you know what I mean? And I have been picked up on it before from people, so it is something I need to work on. But what I find is, in a way, it's probably bad management of your own time, but I just tend to. Do you know what I've realised about myself? I'm bad at saying no to anyone. So if I have a schedule and someone says, "Oh, can you do this for me?" Instead of saying I don't have time, I say, "Yeah, I'll do that," and then I cram it into the day that I've already made that's quite unachievable anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, in essence, what I find it does do is it might make you get a bit more done, but it makes your day not seem peaceful. It makes your day filled with like stress, and like you find that you're rushing around everywhere. I find that I forget a lot of things. Sometimes I'll leave something at the shop, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With having too much stuff on your mind, it makes your efficiency come down a bit in terms of how well you execute a certain task. So
I read a
and that's a lot down to, and this is where I know you're different, and this is where I know you are better with like things like meditation and stuff, when you just stop doing everything you're doing and just think about your breathing, and think about, not why do I need to pay all attention to this hectic day that I've decided myself. I didn't need to go and do this today, but I've added it to a day that's already quite strict. You know what I mean?
One of the reasons I asked you why are you happy doing it is because what I'd noticed was I would write personally to-do lists, and they were unachievable, or at least like they would be crammed in. And then what I would do is I'd cross them off, and then by the end of the day comes, there would still be a few that I hadn't done, and then I was just ending my day like looking at it and being like, I didn't get these things done, and then I'd feel a bit like shitty about it. And it wasn't until I'd like realized, oh, hang on a minute, let's reflect on it and let's read the ones I've crossed out. Because when they're crossed out, you just don't read them. They're crossed out. They're like almost blurred. They're like, when you're like, if I'm speaking now, my background's all blurred out. It's like that. And so it wasn't until I'd like read the crossed out ones and then be like, oh, I did do that. Oh, fuck, I went over there and I got this printed out and this paperwork or whatever it might be. Like all those, they're the things that I struggle with. Are like the ones that are to do with like technology and paperwork and like, like almost like government-ish kind of stuff. Like that's the stuff, or like vehicle stuff. I struggle with that. But when I get that done, on reflection, I feel better reading what I have done. And that's why I asked you about the happiness thing as well. Is like,
no, I
smell the flowers. When you say something and it can be summed up in one like little fucking, all I had to say was smell the flowers, and like that would have covered it.
No, listening to what you were saying, what I massively tend to do is I put off tasks that are mundane and more boring, and tasks that are more, I put things off to the back of your mind that are more fundamental to keeping the wheel turning, keeping things moving. So for me, you booking with a tattoo with me, that's at the first on my list to do because I enjoy doing it. So I'll get you in, I'll do the design, I'll discuss everything. That for me is my point of creativity, where I love the aspect of it. I see it come together in my mind. I visualize it, I create the design, I put it on your skin, and then the end product, I get a good feeling from that. But then when it's something to do with, I need to register this with the tax office, or I need to send this paperwork off to get my license for this. These tasks that lurk in the background of making your business successful and function, them things I massively put off to the last minute. And that's what, it's not necessarily a good way to be, but it's very easy to do. It's a common behavior what will happen with a lot of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then it's strange when also like how many times I've done this multiple times where I've put someone off. I could put someone off for like 4 months, and then I'd be like, okay, and then I put it off for 4 months, and then it's a 30-second phone call, and I'm like, that's insane. That for 4 months I'll be like, I will get around that for today. Like I'm better nowadays. I'm a lot better with it. I think in part it is a little bit to do with like fearlessness. I think a big part of it is certainly courage, is having courage to do it as well.
What I find, particularly with something to do with, if it's anything to do with the council or the tax office or anything to do with HMRC where it's official, I find the longer you put it off, there's a bigger stigma of anxiety over dealing with that particular thing. Like, I found that when I was creating my tattoo shop and I was doing the building work, a massive aspect to that is getting your premises license. And what I was doing, I knew the inspection of your tattoo shop is quite rigorous, and like they need to make sure it's hygienic and make sure you're using the correct equipment and all that sort of stuff. So while I was doing the shop up, I was attaching massive anxiety into the fact that, oh, I hope it passes its inspection and all that. And what I found as well, sometimes you can build things up in your head. And like you said, you put something off for 4 months and it was a quick phone call. When I finally did the application, it was over in a couple of days. Do you know what I mean?
There was one quote. There was one, going back to what we spoke about with in terms of time management. So there was one quote, or even, you know, out of like a, you know, like these pillars where it's like the 7 this or the 9 that. It was to do with you know, like the laws of power, and it was you know, never be seen to be in a rush, and that was it. And it was like the power, the man who holds power is not in a rush. And like after
yeah
after I read that, I then started to give myself more time, and I realized that what as if
I was on the verge of interrupting you then because I totally agreed with you and I got excited. But what you did is you just increased the volume of what you were saying. So you went, and so after me saying that.
Yeah, and it's amazing what I was saying as well is this thing though, like, so when you give yourself more time, not only is it like you're not rushing, not only is it a powerful thing, you don't want to seem to be scurrying to other people. If you're in a rush and you're all rushy, it's not a seductive trait to have, and it's not a powerful trait to have. And so after I read that and I learned that, and that just got deeply ingrained in me, I would then take my time. And what I found is a lot of peace came about that. Like if I've got to get a shower and I've got to get ready, I'm not thinking, oh, I can get that done in 10 minutes. I'm thinking like, well, if I can get that done in 10 minutes, then I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to do it. And then all of a sudden and then you just find that's how the rest of your day then goes when you start to do that and you start to give yourself more time. And in part, it's giving yourself love as well.
Yeah, dude, what you're saying is massively resonates with me, because what I was saying before, that quite a lot of the time I've felt privy to the fact that I'm aware that a lot of the time I'll cram too much in one day for the fulfillment of knowing I've got them things ticked off the list, so to speak. But in contrast to that, what you're saying is someone that's seen to be organized and in power and in control of their situation is somebody that does things in a chilled and like in a fashion where they do everything under control and they're not scurrying around. Like, it's like a lot of the time, dude, I'll finish tattooing, I'll tidy my station, and I'll literally grab all my things together because I know, like, in 20 minutes I've got a tennis lesson booked, or I'm booked on the courts with someone to have a game, and it's like really unrealistic because I don't finish that tattoo and sit down and think, right, breathe, relax, reflect on the fact that you've done a good tattoo. And so what tends to happen is, by rushing, I'm doing exactly what you say in a contradictory way. Do you know what I mean? So it's exactly the opposite. And this is something I do need to work on. And that what you were saying before, I agree with it, but I see myself doing the opposite, if that makes sense, a lot of the time.
What do you mean by doing the opposite? So you mean doing the opposite to what I've just said? Yeah. Okay, I've got you. Yeah.
With you saying being in control and giving yourself enough time, not rushing, and that makes what I find is a lot of the time I'm in a mad rush and anxious and rushing around. Do you know what I mean? So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum to that. However, I fully understand where you're coming from, and I know that that's the right way. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. I still do it. I still because productivity is the one thing that I've recognized that makes me happy. Like if I, like you said, I said, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but one thing I'll know, I guess this is a standard or that I hold myself accountable for is one thing is, in order for me to kind of be happy with the day or content with the day and not feel as though I've wasted it, I will do something productive. And it might just be, and if I'm not, if I'm one of them where I'm just going to take the day off, then what I'll do is I'll wake up and I might do some cleaning, or I might, do some repairs or maintenance on the van, or I might just, something productive, something small and productive, just right away as soon as I wake up.
Dude, I need another pee break.
Yeah, that's cool. So pausing it, yeah.
So, we stopped for a piss break then, and what was interesting to see, what was funny, is looking at the screen as I was walking off. We both just branched off from each side of the screen. Yeah.
You
went off.
You pissed in one side of the sink. I pissed in the opposite.
But no, going back to what you were saying before in terms of, I think it's very much a sense of feeling like you don't have to get everything done today. There's always tomorrow. And like what I find that when something's on my mind, I can't relax until it's done. And a lot of the time, I could organize something for someone, a certain task, or think, well, why do that today? I've already got a busy day. I could schedule that for in a couple of days' time. And what I find is, no, I'll just get it out the way. I very much go about my day thinking, if I get things out the way, tomorrow will be easier. But then what happens? I get them things out the way and I create new things to get out the way the next day. So it's very much, it's a behavior what's not necessarily always a good thing. Do you know what I mean?
It's a successful trait. So it's a trait that demands, as long as these things that are causing you to be, let's say, productive as opposed to like busy, as long as they're steps as well, because this is another thing, isn't it? Is taking a step back and being like, okay, there's certain habits and things that I'm implementing every single day, and you can either look at them as being, are they going to help you in the future or not? And as well, you can get caught up in just being busy and then be like I can do it where I can do so many different things and then be like, oh, actually, I haven't earned that much money today, like actively. Yeah. Like I've got a lot of shit done, but actively I've not earned a great deal of money. And I've been like, oh, okay, I could have certainly earned more money.
What I find, and I hold this value on an equal footing to, let's say, your financial progress. So, and that's personal gains. So, in terms of, so me and you might not have done much today, but we've got together and we've made this recording. So for me, that's progression. Even if it don't get much footage, if it don't get much airtime or people watch it, whether this particular podcast or this particular recording is successful or not, we've gained however many hours we do of experience. So it's never wasted. And what you can connect that to anything. So say, for example, if I was to do a tattoo for a family member and I did it for free, but I did this tattoo because it was something that I've I've had the idea to do and thought, right, I really want to do one of this, and no one's requesting it, so I'm going to give this tattoo out for free so I can have the experience of doing that, if that makes sense. So financially, I'm no further forward in life at the end of the day than I was at the start of it, but I've gained that experience. So there's wealth in different forms. It's not just in terms of money or how you are as a person, your experience, your values. These things all change in terms of what you're doing day to day. So you've still progressed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the people that I want to PT the most are my family. Like, honestly, like, trying to fucking give that shit away. Like, my brother's in the police force, so for his, I think, birthday it was, I got him some stuff. Like, I don't remember what it was. So what me and my brothers usually do is we'll buy each other stupid gifts. Like, I think my younger brother's got like a piece of land in Botswana, like 1 foot by 1 foot. And we just get each other ridiculous shit. My older brother got me a gold watch with Jesus Christ on it. And we just honestly just get each other like ridiculous shit. Like, I got my brother a 90, it was like from the 90s, and it was from a charity shop, and it was a trouser press. And on the front of the cover, it was this lady in a fucking skirt carrying the trouser press, being like really impressed, like really as if this was some impressive thing, and like this almost like this empowering thing to females to have this trouser press carried in the heels and skirt.
Clutching it with complete pride and an onus on that item.
Yeah, like almost putting her identity into it. But yeah, where I was going with that was, what were we talking about? We're talking about wealth, yeah. And so we get each other like ridiculous shit. And one of the things, so for my bro's birthday, is like, I was like, oh, you know, take some PT sessions from me. And this was before like the COVID. And so then I was taking him through distance and you know, like working boxing and kickboxing, just teaching him on like distance and like how to move away and cut angles and things like that. And also, we hadn't gone into it yet, but I wanted to teach him jiu-jitsu as well, and just or not teach him, but roll jiu-jitsu, and he'll teach himself by rolling with me. He'll learn, you know, like, and so, and that for me provides, it doesn't provide the finance, but that, like you say, it provides the wealth. And like when I hear my grandparents or whoever it may be, like, you know, parts of my family that might talk about like back pains and things like that, I'm like, god damn, I'm like, come PT with me, like back pains, things like that. I just do all these different like posture tests and series of tests, and see if your core's weak, see if your hamstrings are tight, if they need like strength, you know, are your glutes not firing properly, let's get your glutes firing, let's stretch your hip flexors. Or I know certain positions they might be in. If they're in the seated position, I know, okay, straight away you're in the seated positions, your hamstrings are going to be tight. All these things, you know, as well, from how your posture is, what your anatomy looks like, and all these things. Like, I want to be, the one thing I want to give away is to my closest community, my closest network or tribe. I want to then give away for free my knowledge and things that I have a understanding, you know, somewhat, you know, on, well, definitely on the journey to mastery of the craft. I think with PT, there's a, it's, pardon?
Benefit to that.
Say that again.
Benefit to that. So if we look back, what I find really interesting, and I connect this in in an aspect, if you rob the entire world of any technology or anything we use now that we place at the forefront of our of importance to us, the best thing you can do, because what made us take over the world and what we was good at as the human race was working together, communicating. So these things fundamentally are at what builds, like you were saying, wealth. And it's not in terms of wealth in the form of money, it's in the form of like happiness and stuff. So you're not necessarily getting it with technology, it gives like a warped sort of view on, like, people are connected around the world via like social media and stuff, but the connection's not physical. It's become something different. And what I find mad whenever I think about this topic, whenever I think about anything to do with us on a fundamental level, like our connection with other people and stuff, I always think we're the last generation of because when we was young kids, the internet wasn't really a thing, was it? It was like, I remember no one really had proper computers and stuff like that. So we're the last generation that's going to live like this, and have seen it come into take over the world. Do you know what I mean? Which I find really mad, because anyone that's born from here on out is going to grow in a world where the internet's a massive part of existence, and with social media and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think this was do you think that people are going to struggle perhaps more and more to find out, you know, who they are or what their purpose may be? Because I think a big part of discovering that is being alone and not having technology and not having all these stimulants, that all this you know, influence and whatnot, and just like, so having a big part of it is growing up and, you know, just experiencing things without the technology, without the distraction. So I wonder if that will be the case, like where people will just struggle more and more to find their purpose and to find like their peace and their and you know, who they are and whatnot and what they enjoy and feel more, because it just is, because there's so many distractions.
So what? Yeah. So what I feel about that, where you're saying distractions, I see as options. And what I find is too many options can make a tyrant of us. So with like, it can ruin us having too many options. If you, what are you laughing at?
Nothing. Carry on.
Are you there, dude? You look
Yeah.
like you're getting high in the van. You might as well not. You look like you're getting high in the van.
No, dude. Paul, you've got quite the imagination on you, sir.
Are you just reaching out the screen for something unknown?
What it is, mate, is now, because it's winter time, what you get come through is like all these different like insects and stuff, and there's a koala, and he's just like, just attached
Yeah, no,
to my cupboard.
I was in a good flow then. As I was saying, when you have too many options, it's hard to choose between. So who knows if you're choosing the right options? You know what I mean? It's very similar. If you gave someone, I know DVDs aren't a thing anymore, but if you gave someone an option of 3 films to watch, and they were all completely different films, but all great in their own rights, you know what I mean?
I'm listening.
So if you gave someone an option of 3 films, to reach a decision of what film to watch and the reasons why would be a lot easier than giving someone the option of 500 films, because now suddenly they've got so much more to choose from, so it makes the decisions harder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. All I'm picturing is Netflix. You know, when you've got like, when you're like, all right, let's set, like, if you've got more than one person in the room, you're fucked, and you're trying to find a film on Netflix. If you've got more than one person in the room, then you know that you're going to spend the first 2 hours just trying to find the film that everyone, you know, like if you've got like a group of 8 people and you're trying to get or like not even 8, just like 4.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Netflix's statistics of how many people are actually streaming something on Netflix and how many people are just on that home screen scrolling.
Yeah.
And I bet the hours spent scrolling is nearly equivalent to the hours streaming, which is mad.
I think it'd be like a quarter.
I do, but I bet it'd be an impressive number. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you know, when when you hear these statistics about like, oh, in your lifetime you will spend you'll spend 1.5 years in traffic, or probably not.
Yeah.
And then like how much time you would spend just scrolling on Netflix. You will spend, in the like the people being born now, or the people who are like, I don't know, maybe like 10 years old now, like their lifetime, they could spend like 4 days scrolling on Netflix during their lifetime. Or what are you eating there, dude?
Hula hoop.
Banana? I'm gonna guess. Oh, okay. I wouldn't have guessed.
Banana.
Yeah, I guess no, the way I guessed it was, like banana chips.
Yeah.
Just
not at home. No, that is interesting. Have you ever heard the statistic? I'm going to find this out. How long does someone spend in traffic in their life? How big do you reckon the number will be?
Right, so I reckon here's what you should do: is you should see what the average person is, and we'll both guess, and then you should see what the average one is for somebody that drives a HGV. That'd be interesting if there is a statistic.
Dude, this number's quite impressive.
All right, hang on. Let me guess. So in a lifetime, yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? What's the measurement? Hours, minutes? What is it? Is it turned into quite possibly more than hours and minutes?
Months.
Month. Really? Jesus. Months. Wow. Like, as in how many hours? 168 hours in a week. So 168 times by 4. I don't want to do the maths. 170. 3.
I'm looking at the figure. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm looking at the figure and it's in months.
Wow.
/ years.
In traffic.
In traffic. You've got to remember, if you spend...
Yeah, you could spend 2 hours in one day or even more.
Some people spend an hour in the morning, an hour at night. That's quite common.
Yeah.
So that's 2 hours a day. That's 14 hours a week.
Nah. 1.5.
3 years and 4 months. That wasn't a bad guess.
Jesus. And then to someone that's out on the road all day driving, it's obviously significantly more. Yeah, I can do that. There's certain situations that I find if I get myself in, I'm like, nah, and immediately get myself out. And I think if I was in a situation I was driving to work an hour a day, like an hour in traffic, an hour a day I could get over, but being in traffic, I'd be like, okay, something needs to change.
You know what I was thinking?
What's that?
And this has very much come to light in COVID. Unless you're dealing directly with a customer, and I mean face to face, like a personal trainer like yourself, what is the need for all these offices? Everyone can work from home, can't they? When everyone's in an office, because my girlfriend works in an office, do you know what the office actually does? They communicate and they email each other. So what does it matter if you sat across from someone in an office or sat at home? What's the need to go and work? If everything's done via the computer, the office is becoming obsolete, isn't it?
Yeah, and imagine what it do for the earth as well. Like if you've got like 100,000 plus people not driving to and from work, and they're just working from home, and they get the luxury of like, oh, I'm going to be with the dog today, and I'm going to, in my lunch break, take the dog out for a walk, and like, or in this lunch break, I'm just going to, like, I don't know, go on a little food shop or something. Like you could be a lot more peaceful, and like, yeah, the earth just wouldn't have as many gases and stuff from cars and emissions and
yeah. So, the point I was trying to make when I was saying that is that the time it would save. Imagine how much time saved on if no one has to go into these offices. They don't need to build the buildings, the offices are in, do you know what I mean? If everyone has their own home and everyone works from home, there's no traffic in the morning, there's no building, there's no massive office buildings. I don't understand why there needs to be offices with hundreds of members of staff. Not when all the communication's done by a computer.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, by the way, I love what you've done with your office. I don't know if I've taken the time to tell you, but I love what you've done with your office.
What?
No, I'm just taking the piss, dude, because you're saying about the office.
Right.
No, I get what you mean though. Yeah, like you need the space, and it makes sense. Of course, I'm just joking. But yeah, when you've just got like when you're just taking phone calls, or just literally just you're in a job where you just need a laptop and internet, like just yeah, and you've got the space to do it. It's a great deal of freedom.
Yeah, there is. So you know what gyms are opening back up, don't you? Have you scheduled your clients back in the gym, or what's going on there?
I've got. So what I'll do is I haven't scheduled them yet. I'll schedule them on Monday. We open up on Wednesday, so I'll just get them scheduled in for the Monday. Dude, I cannot wait. I'm so excited, man. I honestly cannot wait just to, because I've learned a lot as well over this lockdown. So I've learned deeper levels of like the anatomy and movement as well. So it's like do you know what I mean? I always get inspired, and sometimes the driving force used to be quite selfish. It would be like the way I'd approach the study is, okay, I'm going to learn for myself, and then I'll learn for well, actually, no, it wasn't always selfish, because I learned for myself, but I'd always, I'd learn for myself, but I wouldn't always implement it, because I'm curious, and I'm always trying to go into new things. However, yeah, like where I was going with that is, so like just learning new things. I'm just really excited to like implement these new things and like try and like.
So the time off effectively it's like being refreshed, isn't it? Like born again, you're going back into it, but you've had that basically, right? This lockdown's been less than ideal for anybody, but it's been a unique opportunity, because there's no other time in life we'd have this much time to reflect, time off, time to see the entire country get shut down. So if you're a proactive person, you can use this to benefit yourself. And like you're saying, you're going back into the gym and you've not wasted your time. You've not spent your time playing computers, or you've not wasted your time off. You've used it to build yourself up. And to be honest, we had a big gap in communicating, but we've stayed in touch over the years. Obviously, I went to jail for a couple of years.
I wrote to you.
And yeah, you did.
I still got the letters, because I thought they'll provide entertainment. Like, I don't know, I there was something a little bit, when it's in writing, it's a bit more. And we really we fletched our. Wait, that's not the right word. Fletch.
What's interesting about a written letter is you take time to write it, and the response takes weeks. So it's like a very intimate, important correspondence, isn't it? It's like it's something that nobody would do now. Nobody would write somebody a letter now, would they? It never happened. If I want to speak to you, I send you a text message, and within 20 minutes to a couple of hours, you've read it and responded. So, do you know what I mean? Sometimes immediately. So you never experience that. And as I was saying, with this lockdown, we had like a separation in communication, but we've come back together, and I feel like with what's the changes that's going on in the country and stuff, that's forced us to come together and do this podcast. So if it goes anywhere, it's only been a positive for us. Do you know what I mean? Even if we manage to get to a point where we had 100 listeners regularly, then we'd be it'd be beneficial to us. Do you know what I mean?
It'd be more beneficial, but it's beneficial regardless, isn't it? Because
yeah, of course. That's what I meant. So when we do something like this, because we're friends that have stayed in touch from the army, but we don't have the ability to see each other personally because we're separated from this by distance. So in a way, it puts us in a unique position because we're not bumping into each other, we're not going to the pub together. So we can put it all on the air. We can get together on these regular meetings. We're going away. We're having different experiences. I'm running the tattoo shop. You're going off doing your training. We're coming together and we're bringing back these regular experiences. And to be honest, what if we gain an audience whatsoever? In a way, it will be on the basis that it's nothing spectacular. It's just it's a general conversation with some stupidity involved and sometimes views that are quite interesting and quite profound, you know what I mean? So anyone listening could, when you hear people speaking, sometimes you learn from different things, don't you? Sometimes you share a view with someone, and when you hear someone else say the same view as you, it's refreshing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So once you build yourself up, and if you get any listeners, the reason they're listening, they might not connect with the whole a 2-hour podcast that you do, but they might listen to a certain aspect and think, I think in a similar way, or I share this same humor as, do you know what I mean, as this person. So you're not going to connect with someone entirely, but someone might understand where you're coming from on certain views. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and hopefully it would be like when you read a good book, and there's certain books where you can read as a story and you can go on a world of imagination and just, and then there's others where they are, steroids for ideas and creativity, and you can read whilst you read the book, and hopefully, and it's the same as when you get in a conversation, as we are now, when you get into like a free flow conversation, you have new ideas and new ways of thinking, almost like new neuro pathways of like just sends you down these different pathways of thinking that perhaps you haven't thought about before. And that to me is like that's like the one drug you can have where you're completely sober, where you can get into a really engaging conversation and that provokes like new ideas and new ways of thinking. As I just said, like it's exciting. It's yeah.
He just went, he was proper flowing then and went, it's exciting. Yeah.
I know, just like I'm trying to continue the flow, but that was all I had.
Dude, I need another wee again, so I'm gonna pause. This is the only bad thing about drinking on a chat.
Yeah, you're right. You got the bladder of a fucking 90-year-old.
Boom. So we just paused the recording for a toilet break, and then I spent about 5 minutes pissing about my phone, and then went to Lee. Come on, mate, what are you doing? You're only putting crisp away.
Yeah, I like that in the break as well. We both stopped talking. You had hula hoops, and I was like, "Well, I want crisps," and then I went and got some crisps with some dip, and I'm eating crisps and dip, and then you're just eating hula hoops, and we're just chatting like kind of aimlessly, and then I was like, it's good that it feels super productive what we're doing, but we're just eating crisps and getting drunk and high.
Just talking bollocks. What's your dip of choice? Is it hummus?
It's always hummus, yeah, hummus. Always the hummus. I read somewhere, about it having a really good, like an ingredient in it, and I'll never remember the name. Because do you ever do this thing where you read a name of something and then you just decide that you're not going to remember? Pardon?
Hummus contains chickpeas.
Yeah, and it's good for So there's an ingredient in it that's good for hangovers. So in the morning, if you're a bit hungover and you have hummus, it can sort you out. It can square you away.
It can give you dick in the ass.
Oh, I love that dick and ass. Fish whale.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was we on about before we paused? We was talking. We was on a good topic, to be honest.
Were we? Should we create a new one?
My issue with having a beer, I mean, I find our projections when we're just sat doing the podcast and just having a coffee together, I can sit and focus. But when I'm having a beer, I need a wee every 20 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not every 20 minutes, dude. It's every 4 minutes.
I know. Imagine if we stopped the podcast at the end and was like, we've had 5 piss breaks and we've done 16 minutes. 2-minute intervals. We end up getting drunk and you think, fucking, I was recording for hours.
Yeah. But what had happened is during the piss breaks, the piss breaks were about 12 minutes a piece.
Yeah. So it had swallowed up hours long.
Yeah. And the podcast, yeah. Yeah.
Just went. Dude, you just went and the podcast, yeah.
Yeah, because I realised it wasn't going anywhere. What I was going to say wasn't going to go anywhere. So I just changed my mind. I was like, nah, I'm just going to redirect that shit and talk about how we are very tit for tat. Like you were eating crisps and I was like, I'm going to have some crisps. And in the beginning of the podcast, you're like, you crack your beer, I crack a beer. And then I'm like, oh, I quite fancy a brew. So I like started to make a tea and you were like, what you making? I'm like, can I make a tea? And you're like, well, I'll make a tea. And then you like made a tea yourself, even though you were keen for beers.
Yeah, so anyone listening to this, so what happened with me and you, Fordy, is we connected in the army. We spent a couple of years together. We had some really, we connected as people. We found that we was quite similar. We had a similar sense of humour. And then we branched off. I left the army, then you spent a little while longer and then you left. But what I found interesting about us and what you can find with friendships is you can be in regular contact with a friend, you can speak to a friend daily, and you can communicate all the time. But then you have a certain type of friend, and this is someone that you'll know throughout your life. And what can happen is you can go years without communicating with this person. But when you communicate again, you get back in touch with them. It's like you never lost touch. And when you have that kind of connection with someone, that tends to be a friend for life. And what I think that's what we've got here. Do you know what I mean? I find that because we've had big gaps in communication. When I first went to jail, I don't think we spoke for like a year, did we? Do you know what I mean? But with us being from different areas and the gap's quite substantial, we don't physically meet up, do we? But we go off and have different experiences, do different things. But when we communicate, there's that connection there again. So, and I find that I've got that with a couple of people, and these are like lifelong friends. When you're friends with someone and this person you'll know indefinitely, you don't have to communicate with them every day. You come in and out of each other's consciousness and then in and out of each other's lives. Do you know what I mean?
Like spirit family, isn't it? Like the way I like will see it or think of it to be is like you have your family, which are your blood, and then you have like your spirit family, and these are the people that you can just connect with. And some of them is crazy because you can just connect with people like immediately. You can meet them and then immediately they're kind of like, oh, you know, even just after like a weekend or whatever with someone, you're like, they can be ranked higher than people that you've known a very long time, because the people you've known for a long time don't have that something that like, yeah. And I don't know what that is.
What I've found there is you have people that are friends due to circumstances, and then you have lifelong friends. I see as a lifelong friend. You could move to the other side of the world. I'd make an effort to contact you. But then, say for example, if I started a job on the first day of that job, when you start a new job and you do an induction period,
Mm-hmm.
you start a job at the same time as somebody else, and you don't have much in common with this person, but because you both start in the job and you've got the anxiety of starting this job, and you meet them on the first day, and then you start this job with them, you instantly connect with them. But then what happens is after a bit of period of time, you realise you've not got much in common with them, and you realise, to be honest, I don't even really like this person. I see this person every day because we have the same job, we have the same tasks. And what you'll find with these type of people, in particular, if you work with someone, you can speak to this person every day at work, you can have a lot to talk about. But if you ever leave that job, you never see them ever again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
it's because
and
that had a big impact.
Yeah, and it can even be people that you're like, oh no, I'm really good friends with this person, and then like you go your separate ways, and then you just kind of don't continue talking. You're like, oh, okay, maybe not. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, no, I get that. Tell me about your training this week, dude. Did I tell you I did a second session with this PT? We've spoke about this, haven't we? Like, if you're skilled in a certain area, and then you take that practice off someone else, you take up someone else's service, it'd be very similar. I'm trained up as a PT. I've got my experience from the army. I'm quite knowledgeable on the body. So, but I'll still go and pay someone to train me because I'm not necessarily expecting them to teach me anything. I'm paying for their motivation. They'll egg me on through a session. They'll encourage me. Do you know what I mean? So you don't. Sometimes you could know more than somebody, but still get taught off them, if that makes sense. You can never put yourself in a position where you're sort of arrogant and think, well, he can't teach me anything because I've been doing this longer than him. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same if I wanted a tattoo on my body, it's the same as me saying, well, why would I go and pay anyone to do this tattoo when I can do it myself? And the reality of it is, if I go and pay somebody else to do it, I don't have to deal with the pain as well as the concentration of putting that ink into my own skin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that guy could be a portrait specialist, whereas you might have done like 15 years of tattooing and tattooing different things, then found your groove in a specific something. And then if you then want a portrait, you want the guy that's then done 15 years of portrait, although you're both tattoo artists. And it's similar to that in a PT. Like you could be a PT and learn, certain, you could learn, like maybe you learn mobility, yoga, anatomy, bodybuilding, powerlifting, etc. But there's like that one area that's a little bit grey or without you knowing it that you haven't learned, and then you get a PT, and then this person is like the master of that one area. Then he can teach you, because of course, like your choices, you're going to learn through your choices of what you watch, what you read, whatever it is you consume, and then they're going to have their choices, and then so like it's a minefield, dude. Like I put over, so on my YouTube channel, my fitness one, I put over 50 videos of like explaining how to do specific techniques and movements. And this was about 3.5 months ago I did this. And then since learning that, I think at least 3 of the videos I've learned a bit more in depth about, and I've learned like, oh, actually there's probably better ways of doing it. And that's always going to be the case. Pardon?
What was your method of filming these videos? Was you balancing your camera and pressing record, or was you getting someone to take the footage?
Both. Yeah.
So
sometimes I'd
I know this is like a an actual dilemma. But I always think whenever I think balancing a camera and pressing record, I think back to that video ages ago when you was trying to do a progress shot of your body, and you said you was balancing your phone on an ironing board, and the footage was the phone, you trying to balance it and it falling over about 5 times in a row, but it was just your face looking at the camera watching it fall over. You remember the video?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, in the in my room in the army in the blocks.
It's like, do you know? Have you ever put something away and like it don't quite fit there, but you like balance it in a position where it could fall over at any point, and you almost just put it in and then like shut the cupboard door or something, and you think whenever that opens, that's gonna fall over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's a cruel game to play with your girlfriend, where you just fucking put someone in and then shut the cupboard door, and then you're like, that's for the next person.
Yeah, of course.
They're gonna get a noodle pot or something fall on them when they open the cupboard. Deal with that later. Future me can deal with this one.
Yeah. So, as we were saying about, I did another training session. So in the last week I did one session. This week I've done another PT session. Last week it was predominantly like back, and some biceps, and it was a strength workout, but it was very much
disgusted. Your face looks disgusted. So as you're describing it, whatever comes out your mouth, I'm gonna read your facial expression of disgust. You were like, this. You were like, we did a back, and it was, and your face just kind of went, just sheer disgust.
No, so as I was saying, I've done that back workout, and then the week after I've done a second session, and I've found that, to me, I've always been against having a PT. If you understand how to train, then you should do it yourself. But my views changed quite recently, and this is what I was saying to you before about the fact that even though you're skilled in a certain area, it doesn't mean you're above the point of being coached by somebody. You can still have somebody come and train you, teach you, almost even educate you in a certain aspect of training. Because even if you're more skilled in a certain area than someone, they can have a slightly different training style, and they can teach you either something about yourself, something about how you train, or so. In essence, what I'm trying to say, and I'm beating around the bush, I'm trying to say that taking this session has benefited me outside the fact of just training, because it's made.
So I like that. Yeah. So it's almost like you've not only you benefiting from the body and from the learning of different techniques, and I'm benefiting from actually learning things in the gym and how to like move specific ways. Not only are you learning that, but you're also learning something about yourself and perhaps your ego, and okay, I can actually then I can branch this out to other things. I can
This is where I'm coming from.
Go on.
This is where I'm coming from, because you can put this to a lot of aspects of life, because you can even put it down to like little things like, they say, don't they, like you can almost have too much pride with stuff, like, where you think you don't need help in a certain area, or you can think, well, I don't need this, I don't need to do that. Or when you're too proud, pride's a good thing. It's good to be proud of what you're doing, pride in yourself. But when you're too proud and think that you don't need help off anybody, it can almost hinder your performance and ability to grow. Do you know what I mean? And what I've found because I did this, I was playing tennis for a while, and I took up tennis lessons. And at the time, I remember thinking it was a waste of money, but I've come on loads doing them. So I've sacrificed some finances to progress in that area. So the levels balance out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm learning that as well because I'm in the industry of like people paying for a service. I'm then more open to paying for an experience and yeah, and I think I have for a while thought that paying for experiences is probably more important than material.
Doesn't count for the.
Yes, it does.
Carry on.
Yeah, so like paying for experiences and you know and things that will help you. I think we mentioned it earlier on about things that are going to help you grow as a person and like introspectively.
What I really like what you said recently is you was bound to the gym. You had a contract at this gym, and monthly you had to pay a certain amount. I think you said like £600 for the month, and that was your rent to utilize the space. Once you've paid this fee, you're allowed to then go off and earn your wage. And what I really liked is you was used to paying this money, and when you was given a bit of time off when the gym was closed, by gaining that money that you would spend there for the month, instead of just thinking, oh, I'll go out and waste that money, you thought, well, I'm going to use this, I'm going to try some therapy. And now I really respected that because I thought that you're not going to miss that money anyway, as long as you pretend it's still gone on to you paying for the gym. Do you know what I mean? And it would have been very easy for you to just think, oh, well, I'll get some new clothes with that, or use it for a holiday next year. And instead, you've upped the importance of growing yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's quite hard to do. And this is the struggle I had, with saying like using a PT, or sometimes you can take the view that you don't need these things, but if you just open yourself up to certain practices, or I'm very much a fan of trying out things that are out of your comfort zone and trying out new things that you're against. You know what I mean? When you dislike something, a lot of the time it's because it's something you'll find difficult or something you're not comfortable with. And they say, don't they, what comfort's the enemy of progress. So while you're comfortable, you're not progressing. So if you're not progressing, if you are too comfortable, you're not moving forward. So when you're out that comfort zone, you are benefiting in whatever aspect of where you want to benefit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love those. I love those type of sayings and quotes as well. Like the comfort zone is, beautiful, but nothing. No, the comfort zone is cozy, but nothing like grows there. Or, the comfort zone is beautiful, but nothing grows there. And like, fuck, where was I going with that?
The comfort zone. Come on, jog your memory, dude.
Yeah, I had something. So we were on the comfort zone and we were talking about like investing in yourself. Nah, it's gone, dude. It's gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain thing with being comfortable. It's quite easy, isn't it? It's very easy to take the road of least restraint. So say you've got a couple of options, and this is what what happens. You have people in jobs in life where they'll have a job for years and years, and they've been there 12 years. They work for a certain company. They've moved up to a manager. They're on a reasonable salary, but the entire time they've been at this company, they've not found it enjoyable, and they've had this dream in the back of their head where they want to pursue something else, but they're too scared of doing it because they need the comfort of that regular wage, and they like to know what they get whether they've got a contract with this company. Do you know what I mean? And the comfort of that can hold people back. It can stop people chasing the dreams. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It can stop it can stop future people in sports making it to a certain sport. You know, if you have someone really good at football or boxing, but they're comfortable in the job, they can think, well, they can start questioning themselves and thinking, what happens if I don't make it and then I've lost my job? And do you know what I mean? I think you've got to go for things head first. I think you've got to put yourself. I think you've got to put yourself into difficult positions in life to see how you can come out of them a better person and in a better position.
And when you do that as well, when you put yourself into those uncomfortable positions, the universe has this thing of where it does try and provide for you as well, and it will try and provide as long as the thing that you're throwing yourself into you're quite aligned with in the moment, and also not to be like quitting if you're in a comfy job and you want to pursue some sort of business idea or whatever it might well be, then really the format for it and the foundation for it is do your work that you're doing during the day and then side hustle, create your own little empire. Have in the morning, have a block of like an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and just do it that way and allow it to grow. And or the way I did it with going from delivering bombs to being the self-employed PT was
going from delivering bombs to lifting bombs
to being the bomb.
Yeah, going from delivering bombs to being the bomb. I like that.
The way I did it was I saved up money, and then I got to a point where I was like, I saved the money up, and then I took the time off to do the it's calculated risks, isn't it? It's calculated risks. It's like you save the money, and then I went for the job, got the job, and then I had that savings to then like fall back on. But I also did lorry driving on the weekend as well.
No, thinking back, did I have anything to do with you going into a PT course and stuff? Because I do remember speaking to you while you was a lorry driver. And I remember you communicating with you about this, saying you wanted to branch into PT and stuff.
Yeah, and I've always had a fascination, like even in the army, I took PT sessions in the army as well. Like I remember taking circuits and things like that for our battery, and like out on exercises and shit. Even an Afghan dude, I took circuits in Afghan. Like when we met back at the patrol base, like in quiet time in the patrol base, or like if you have that time, and like. So I've always been fascinated with it, and I've always wanted to do it, and it's something I've always enjoyed doing. So quite possibly, mate, yeah, if you could have quite possibly had an influence on me. Like I do think, however, though, it was something I've always, you and I would always train together, like our Rage Against the Machine circuits that we do, where we like pick and like, all right, we're gonna do 600 reps. We'd be like, remember when we'd be like, right, you got a certain amount, like we might be like, okay, we're going to do 100 pull-ups or 150 pull-ups, and it'd always change, and it'd be like all these different exercises are going to build muscle, and then we'd have a certain amount to get through, and we'd be like, okay, and it would total to like maybe if we didn't have much time, 400 reps, or then it'd be 600 or 900, and it'd be like all these. I enjoyed that way of training. I still implement that way of training with my clients now. Like that's one thing enjoy is I'll do different ways, and I'll do all these little techniques where it might be powerlifting, it might be bodybuilding, it might be like one day we're seeing what your 1 rep max is. We might not always do 1 rep max, but let's say we're doing like a 3 rep max, and then I can, if they've got the technique down, they've been doing it a while now and practiced. And then other times it would be like circuits, like like we would do Rage Against the Machine circuits and things like that, and I'd name it cool shit like acid bath and random.
Obviously, my time in the army didn't lead to pursuing going on to war. But to summarise, what was your thoughts on going to Afghan? What was your experience like over there? Because my view on Afghan, I was prepared to go while I was in the army. But what I found is the wage wasn't sufficient enough for not just be risking your life in another country. What I found, it was a long time to be away. It really was. And this is what I know. I did different exercises with the army. I went to Kenya and stuff, and this really trained me for when I went to jail and I was locked in a cage for them years. I found I was already conditioned for that because I found that I was just suitably able to deal with it right from the get-go. And that was from time in the army, because when the army tells you you're going abroad or going on exercise, you can't say, fuck that, I can't be asked. That's what you're doing. The job dictates to you that you're going to these places, you're doing that thing. So even though you've not experienced jail as such, you've experienced going somewhere you didn't necessarily want to go, and for a period of time where it's a long time, dude. You went, it's like 6 months over there. What was your thoughts over there? I imagine you, from what I know of you, you would have stayed like positive and had a laugh and stuff, but some of it must have been quite boring. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I try and stay as positive as I could, and I'd have like a quite light-hearted approach on it. When I reflect back on it, so obviously with therapy and things like that, and talking to people back on it and reflecting back on it, it was some deep shit, and I think like a big part of, pardon?
I can imagine, dude.
Big part of why I may have taken myself away from my feelings is like not only just through like a childhood thing, you know, like perhaps like just being a child and all these little things that you experience where perhaps you're in fear or whatever it might be, like, you know, from like adults being like grown and terrifying and whatever it may be, you know. Like I also think a part of it was could have been Afghan, because there was certain like one of the things that was kind of crazy. There's me and Perry, and I'd like to have so Winnie said he's going to come on a podcast, and I'd like to talk to him about Afghan because obviously he did too and did Iraq and stuff. So I'd like to like reflect on it with him as well. But there was just there was obviously times where when I reflect back on it like that, that's kind of crazy. Like me and Perry legit got an argument. Perry and I, imagine this, like legitimately got in an argument over who was going to kill someone, like shoot them down.
What do you mean?
Like, so we had so on the Sangers, you'd have we were in cahoots with all the farmers, and they'd be given silo-looms, and they'd know that if they were farming, you know, on certain days they would have certain silo-looms, and it would change what one. So they'd have the silo-looms out, and we'd know that they were farming, because obviously you've got all these reference points, and in the patrol base when we moved there, it was being built, like with the almost like the silos filled with sand, the like metal fences, and when we got there, it was really dodgy. We moved 3 months in. We went from Salab to patrol base Salab to patrol base Shazad, and it was really dodgy, man, because all the Afghan locals and whoever you want were walking through the patrol base where we were sleeping. And yeah,
not secured?
Pardon?
Not secured.
It was, but not really. So you'd have people on the Sangers,
like through like a path going through the base.
So it was open because all the asylums were still being filled and stuff, and the base itself was being built, or the patrol base was being built. When we went there, it was still quite open, and so it's
like an open plain with sentries in each corner.
Yeah, but it was still being built. So like one wall was built, another wall was being built. This bit was all open to locals. We had to like figure it all out and stuff. And so that was, you know, we're very lucky, like that nothing happened there, I guess. And so yeah, there's the silo. There would be different silos given out with different colours for the farmers. And then one time we got told we fired warning shots off because there was a guy digging, and yeah, and then I think it
time.
Pardon?
You on sentry or what was
yeah, on Stag. And I think it was Yatesy that said like, fire the warning shots, and then I think, or it might have even come through Steedy, and he said like, they said like, yeah, okay, shoot them. And then Perry and I got in a fucking argument over who was going to kill him. Perry, like, and to look back on that now is just like, there's some kind of heavy shit, and like, but
well, you're to pull the trigger shot.
But you're brainwashed, aren't you? You're brainwashed. Like it's training that you're doing every single day. Like you're practicing for it, and so then when you're out there, it just seems you dehumanize them, and it seems normal. But so there was all of that. There was like some obviously crazy shit that had gone out there. Winnie got blown up off a roof. I want to talk to him about it all though. Like, and
what happened to Winnie out there? Didn't it? How did he get blown off a roof?
I'm not sure. That's what I want to like really go into and not misspeak on that. Like I want to speak to him on it properly. And yeah, and then other than that, it was like remaining positive. It was like, and the crazy thing is if you tell people, well, not the crazy thing, oh, this ain't the crazy thing, but if you tell people about Afghan, obviously everyone deals with it differently, and like I think you can, when I reflect on it, I think, you know, like, so people kind of go, oh my God, are you okay? And it's like, for me, I'm like, well, for me, it was like, it was when I reflect back on it, think back on it, it was like, no, it was fine. I was dealing with it all, and in whatever way I, like, but it was always like, it was always a joke. And in the present moment and all this present time, there was never any, for me, there was never any like real fucking, like, there was some kind of fucking crazy shit, but like nothing that was making me like, this is gonna haunt me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
I don't think you'd think the army train you in a way where you don't think about it like that, do they? Like you use the word dehumanize, which was instead of it being a person, it becomes a target, doesn't it? And
and it's
particular what I find, because in the army, the person physically pulling the trigger and engaging in contact with the enemy, that's something where you're witnessing it and it happening. But you could be on a gun, you could be loading the light gun, and you could be putting the shell into the light gun that's gonna blow a compound and 5 civilian lives. You know what I mean? And when you're on that end, you're not physically watching it happen, but you're still pulling the trigger in a way, aren't you? Because when you load that machine, the damage that's going to do miles away, which I find really interesting, because it's different to looking down the sights and pulling the trigger at somebody, because you're watching that happen, but it's less damaging than a shell from a light gun, or whether it's from one of the tanks or whatever. The dynamic's different, but when you're loading that machine, you must still have it in the back of your mind. There's a reason this fire mission's come through, and that's because there's an enemy on the other end. You know what I mean?
And then at times as well, it would be more personal in times where obviously if you are looking down the barrel, or rather if you are looking down your scope as well, and then with in terms of the light gun, it was more personal when the patrol base would be under attack, so we would have insurgents like firing on us, and then obviously the rounds just going over our head, and we'd have like multiple ramps as well, and so you would get the gun up on the ramp, and you'd have the rounds, you obviously have your helmet and you're getting low and stuff, but all the rounds are whizzing by your head, and you can hear them just whizzing by, and they're going like kind of really high pitch, like just over your head, and
almost makes a cracking sound, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When it
like a whip crack. And then when you'd see the compound and you see all the muzzle flash and you could see that they're firing at you, then it does become more personal as well. And like we take turns in what role we do. There was 5 roles on the light gun, and so you'd have your number 1 would be your person in charge, so they would like be the person in charge of it. Your number 2 would be the person loading the gun. The number 3 would be the person, loading the shell and then loading the brass charge, which is the thing that ignites the shell and propels the shell. The shell being the big, heavy, like concrete, like big, heavy, explosive round. And then your number 3 would be the person who would then get the bearings and then adjust the height, the elevation, and then the angle, the left or right, the traverse on it, on the gun. And then your number 4 would be the one that would ram the shell. I think it was does the charge as well. No, yeah, so I might mix that up a bit. Yeah, but and then number 5 is the one that's in charge of the ammunition and the shells themselves and gets them all passed through. So they're the jobs for like people listening. I know you're aware of that, the people listening. And so yeah, and so you'd switch roles, and then also on the roles, it felt more personal for me on the fire missions where we would go on the platform and you'd see all the muzzle flash, and then
yeah, so my
like pulling the trigger, and then you'd hear, obviously the light gun would go bang, and then you'd hear, and then you'd hear the explosion of the compound. You'd see it as well, because it's like it might be just a couple 100 meters in front of you, or a few 100 meters in front of you. And then that felt personal, but strangely that felt good. It felt good at the time. If I'm being completely honest, it felt good. Like it was a fucking adrenaline rush, of course, and like and the fact that they're firing rounds at you and they're going over your head and you can see it, and then you just blow the fuck out of the building. Like on reflection, yeah, there's probably some shit there where it's like some bad shit can also happen, like if the insurgents are in people's houses, but I'm pretty sure the observers posts and the CPs like have that studied, and they're aware of whether the building is like a family building, or whether or not the surgeons just jumped in this building. I'd like to think they had their shit together on that a lot of the time.
So you when you was in the base, you wasn't on the sentry, so you was having downtime. You was able to train and relax. What would you be doing? And when a fire mission came down, what would you have to do? Would you have to assume the position of the gun straight away and rush over to your sentry, or what? How did it work? If a random fire mission came on in your downtime, would you have to race over?
Yeah, so you're on call 24 hours. So fire missions are going on during the evening, all through the evening. Some evenings you'd be up during the day, and then some evenings you'd be on the fire mission. You get a fire mission at like, you could be on stag at like 11 and then get a fire mission at 12, and then you'd be on all through the evening. You'd just be on the fire mission through the evening, and then during the day, a lot of volleyball, dude. Got fucking good at volleyball.
A lot of volleyball.
You'd have a little volleyball thing, so like a lot of volleyball, yeah.
What other sports did you do over there? Was there any boxing pads and stuff?
Yeah, I think Yatesy had pads. I don't think I hit pads back then.
Yatesy had pads and a hell of a set of teeth.
Yeah.
No, it's still interesting to hear, because I was trained for us, but my trade was calling the shells onto the position. So I never got trained on the light guns. I never got to experience actually loading the machines. Mine was talking it onto the target using grid references, and then you'd align your target left and right, and then bring it into distance. And I did that in Kenya and on different exercises, but Yeah, I never got trained on the light gun, but from my knowledge of that, it was quite intense, wasn't it? The shells were very heavy, the fire missions come in thick and fast, and it was a case of like rambling together and getting it done. But I just think back of like Karaski and stuff. Do you remember him, dude?
That dude, yeah, he was just like a free spirit, man. Like he just fearless, man. He was cool. Fucking
Cool.
dude, like dick on him as well. Like,
yeah,
so we went to Jeppo's wedding. Like, fucking, we're all like pissed up, and we're all like just pissing into the urinals. And then Perry, who was I can't remember who he was talking to, but Perry's pissing next to him, and then he's like shouts over to someone about his dick, and he's like, obviously by now everybody knows he's got a dick on him, and I just remember Perry being like, look at the size of mine, and then look at his. Look at the size of mine, and then look at his. Like, and I'm sure it's just like a family member, like somebody's dad or something, or like grandparent, like, and Perry's just hammered saying like, look at the size of mine, and look at his. And yeah, the vicar.
The vicar of the christening
Right.
has been in the after party.
Yeah, I did in Kenya. I tried I went out and did like OPing, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to do it. Towards the end, I wanted to change. I'd done I'd done a tour on the guns, and I'd like to have done it on OP, and I really enjoyed it. I like the when you're looking out, like you say, you're observing the grid, and you have all these different references, and like you remember you used to like draw.
Yeah. What I found boring about training as an OP is you'd have to sit and watch the target for a while, whereas in your job would be really aggressive on the light gun, but then you'd have downtime, and with the OPs they'd be marching into the next position. So, do you know what I mean? And that's what I didn't like about it, was sitting waiting, and do you know what I mean, and judging the target and stuff. So yeah, no, to my preference would have been I'd have probably quite enjoyed going on the light guns and trying that aspect of the job, because it was probably would have been more intense when you sat in an OP watching the target. There's probably I mean, I've not done it in a wartime scenario, so the thrill of seeing your correction land correctly on the target probably would have been amazing. But the time in between that, getting into position, watching a position for ages, do you know what I mean, is different from, because when a fire mission comes down, straight away your adrenaline kicks in, doesn't it? And you're straight onto that position, and you're loading the guns, and you're knowing that you're coming on, effectively coming onto a target. You're delivering that killer blow, aren't you? And that's something I probably would have enjoyed, to be fair.
I still, when I go on like walks, and I went on on little hill walks, there's like certain things I'll do, and I realize like like a lot of what the army does is try to teach you to be present and to pay attention. So it's using your senses. So it's like, when you're out and like, if you ever want to be present when you're walking, just imagine that you're hunting. So imagine that you're trying to, or not even, you don't have to be hunting. You just imagine you're trying to catch an animal out. So if you're walking the woods and you think, there are deer in these woods, just be mindful of that. And then all of a sudden, you're not, when you're stepping quietly. Maybe you're not talking and being loud, and you're just listening with your ears. And a big part of like, OPs especially was that, wasn't it? Was paying attention,
navigating, and
yeah,
the surroundings, reference points,
using all your senses.
So and in a way that was interesting. Looking at the land, using contouring, looking at peaks, distances between things. He was good at gauging things, so it was understanding. He was able to break things down, and like you you can imagine like a field in front of you and like the size of a football pitch, and think that that's probably 2 football pitches distance away. Do you know what I mean? And you'd break it down like that.
I remember, I might have remembered this wrong, but I'm pretty sure like I was on a hill with my girlfriend the other day and we tried to guess the distance of something, and I guessed 5 miles, and I think I got it on. And it was kind of stroke luck as well. But I was like, I took it. I was like, yeah, I'll take that.
I think that's much more difficult when you're talking in the miles, but going up to like a mile but it's a lot easier to do when it's like a kilometre away and you're thinking in terms of like 100-metre football pitches, and like you're thinking, right, I could get 5 between that tree, and then how far is that peak from there? Do you know what I mean? So
that's when it gets tricky, right?
So yeah, for doing it. What's that?
Sorry, mate. Valleys and hills. When there's valleys and there's hills and there's different, like that's when it gets tricky. That's when it gets like.
Yeah, of course. When you're talking something in miles away, it's much more difficult. Do you know what I mean?
What beer are you on now? Is that your 4th one?
No, I'm on my 3rd. I've nailed my crisp and I've had my 3rd beer.
Getting wowed for the night.
Getting wild.
Right, dude. Happy with that?
Yeah, should we leave it there?
Yeah, that was good, man. It was good talk.
Yeah, it was a good talk.
Hey, nice.
Dude, once I've stopped, how do I?
You stop it now, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, 3, 2, 1, let's stop. Go.